In this video, we're going to go over examples 13.21 and 13.22 from your book. If you'd like to follow along, open the Chapter 13 classwork.xlsx workbook for my courses and click on the EX 13.21 worksheet tab. With parameter analysis, what we are going to do is we would change the number, run the model, take note of the answer, change the number a second time, run the model, take note of the answer. Well, we're going to have Excel do this for us, the Premium Solver, and it will produce a data table of the answers. So as you can see over here on the right, I wrote down that using the parameter analysis is a 4-step process. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to set up the optimization model in the Premium Solver. Then we have to set a result cell. Then we have to set the parameter or parameters. And then we're going to run the optimization report. So let's start in this exercise with a single parameter. We're going to vary our finishing limitation from 10 to 60 hours. So first we're going to set up the optimization model. So I'm going to click Add-ins and Premium Solver. I'm going to single click Objective and I'm going to click Add, and my objective is cell D22, and make sure that the radio button is set to max and click OK. Now I'm going to single click variables. Don't worry whether they're normal or recourse. The Premium Solver will put them where they belong. Single click variables and click Add, and our variable cells B14 and C14. And all we need to do is click OK. Now we're going to enter in 4 constraints. So I'm going to single click Constraints and click Add. Our first constraint is for our fabrication hours. So D15 has to be less than or equal to D6. With our parameter analysis, we must use the cell reference, because if we just typed 84 in here, if we vary this cell, nothing would happen. So I'm going to click Add because we have 3 more to add. The next one is our finishing hours. So D16 has to be less than or equal to D7, the 21. And click Add. Our excess deer crest, our market mixture, has to be greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to click cell D19 and change that to greater than or equal to, and type the number 0 and click Add. And our final constraint is that both our quantities, B14 and C14, we want them both to be non-negative. So I'm going to click greater than or equal to, and then the number 0. So now I click OK. And with the parameter analysis, it's not necessary to run the model. We just have to have the model in there. So right now, I'm just going to click Close. Now, in step 2, we need to set a result cell. Our result cell is going to be the profit contribution, the total profit. So I'm going to click on cell D22. I'm going to click on Analytic Solver. It's going to freak out for a second when it activates. I'll just close that box. So I'm making sure that I'm in cell D22. On Analytic Solver, in the Simulation Model group, I'm going to click Results, and then in Cell, or you could have just added the psi output, the plus psi output, open parentheses, close parentheses. Now we've done steps 1 and step 2. Now in step 3, we need to set the parameter. In the book, they just chose a blank cell, but what I'm going to do is in cell G1, I'm going to type P1, that stands for parameter 1. And then in cell H2, I'm going to enter my parameter. So making sure that I'm still on the Analytic Solver tab. In the Parameters group, I'm going to click Parameters and then Optimization. So the 10 and the 60, 10 for lower and 60 for upper, are given in the book. We don't always type those. It's just, in this case, the book wanted us to vary those limitation and finishing hours from 10 to 60. So I'm going to click OK. And notice I have sci-op-param 10, 60. Now that sci-op parameter has to be a part of the model. So I'm going to click cell D7, and instead of the number 21, I'm going to type an equal sign and then click on H1 where I have my parameter entered. Now I'm going to hit enter, and I have now done the first 3 steps. So I've set up the optimization model, I have a result cell, I've set my parameter, so all I have to do is run the optimization report. Now I'm going to run the optimization report. So making sure that I'm still on the Analytic Solver, I'm going to click Reports, Optimization, and then Parameter Analysis. So I have my result cells. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the plus next to the objective. I'm going to single click D22, and then I'm going to use the arrow to send it over to the right hand side. Now under parameters, I'm going to single click H1 and use the arrow to send it over to the right hand side. And now down at the bottom where it says major axis points, our parameter goes from 10 to 60, and we'd like to have it in tens. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 would give us 6 axis points. So instead of 11, I'm going to type the number 6, so I'll get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and all I have to do is click OK. And here's our report. And as I told you before, we have a data table. Wow, that made it very large. But we now have our analysis report. And if we have 10 finishing hours available, the profit is $4.50. But if we have 60 finishing hours available, the profit is $13.65. Now let's click on the EX 13.22 worksheet tab. And let's do it with 2 parameters. So we're going to use the same 4-step process. First we have to set up the optimization model. Then we need a result cell. Then this time we're going to set 2 parameters, and then we're going to run the optimization report. So for the first step, set up the model in the solver. I'm going to click Add-ins and then Premium Solver. Single click Objective and click Add. Our objective is cell D22, and we want that to be maximized. So I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to single click Variables and click Add. Our 2 variables are B14 and C14, the quantity produced. And I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to single click Constraints and enter in our 4 constraints. So the first one is for fabrication. D15 has to be less than or equal to D6. If I had typed in 84 under the constraint, the parameter analysis would not work because it's going to substitute different numbers into cell D6. So I'm going to click Add. Now it's the finishing constraint. So D16 has to be less than or equal to D7. Click Add. Next one we have market mixture. So D19 has to be greater than or equal to the number 0. So in the constraint, type the number 0 and click Add. And finally, our final constraint, both of our quantities produced, B14 and C14, greater than or equal to 0. So since I'm all done, I click OK. It's actually for the parameter analysis. It's not necessary to run the model. We just need to set it up because Excel is going to run the model as we do the report, the parameter analysis report. So I'm just going to click close, and it looks like I have to do it twice. That's what I had to do last time. Now I need to set a results cell. Since we want to know what our profit is, my results cell is going to be D22. So I'm going to click cell D22. I'm going to click the Analytic Solver tab. In the simulation model, I'm going to click Results. And making sure that I'm on Output, I'm going to click In Cell. Or as I said, you could just add the plus sign output, open parentheses, close parentheses, but make sure that the plus sign output does not replace the formula. It goes at the end of the formula because Excel still has to evaluate the profit under each of the scenarios. Now we're going to set the parameters. So I'm going to click in cell G1 and I'm going to type P1 for parameter 1. And then I'm going to click back on cell G1 and I'm going to use the fill handle to copy that down. So notice it just changed it to P2. If you wanted to just copy the cells, you could just click the autofill options and choose copy cells, but I actually wanted it to do P2 for our parameter 1 and our parameter 2. So our parameter 1 is going to be for fabrication. Fabrication hours are going to go from 50 to 100, and finishing hours are going to go just like before from 10 to 60. So I'm going to click in cell H1, making sure that I'm still on the Analytic Solver, Parameters, and Optimization. This one is going to be 50 for the lower and 100 for the upper, and I just click OK. Now I'm going to click in cell H2, making sure that I'm still on the Analytic Solver, click Parameters and Optimization. This one goes from 10 to 60. 10 is in the lower, 60 is in the upper, base case is optional. And we're going to click OK. Now I have to replace the formulas in the model. So I'm going to click in cell D6 and type equals and click on the first parameter, H1. Now I'm going to click in cell D7 and I'm going to replace the number 21. I'm going to put a link to the parameters. So I'm going to type an equal sign in cell D7 and then click on H2, my second parameter. So now we've done the first 3 steps. We've set up the model. We've got a result cell. We've got our parameters. All that's left to do is run the report. So making sure that you're still on the Analytic Solver tab. In the Analysis group, I'm going to click Reports, Optimization, and Parameter Analysis. So I'm going to click Result Cells. I'm going to click the plus sign, single click cell D22, and send it over to the right hand side with the single arrow. I've learned by hard practice that the double arrow sends everything over. We don't want H1 there anymore. That's from the previous model. So on the right hand side, I'm going to single click H1 and I'm going to send that back. Now we want only the parameters from example 13.22. So I'm going to click the plus button next to 13.22. And I'm going to click the plus next to H1 and H2. So I'll send H1 over to the right hand side, single click H2, use the arrow to send that over to the right hand side, and then I'm going to click the down arrow and choose Vary two selected parameters independently. So notice now we have a major access points and a minor access points. Our major one is for the first parameter. We want to go from 50 to 100 in steps of 5 to match what we see in the book on page 448. So if we count 50, 55, 60, 65, all the way up to 100, that gives us 11. So in our major access points, we want to delete the number 6 and type instead the number 11. Now for our minor access points, we want our second parameter. It goes from 10 to 60. We want 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. That is 6 points. So under minor access points, I'm going to type the number 6. And now I am going to click OK. It's running the optimization. This time we have a lot more because we're going to get a two-way data table. We actually have 66 optimizations. And I actually clicked OK to replace the data because I already had data in my analysis from the previous data table. So when I clicked OK, we can see over here that we're in the book they had the 50 to 100 across the top row and the 10, 20, 30, 40 down the left-hand column. But you can see over here that we've created our two-way data table using our parameter analysis.